Greetings, Watford fans, wherever you may be. I'm Omar Moore, and welcome to this edition of the Orns 10-minute plus take on Watford 1, Chelsea 2 in the Premier League, match day 14. This was an event-filled match at the Vic as the calendar turned to December the 1st, 2021. And wow, it was quite a match. Watford from the off, in front, on top, in every way except on the scoreboard. Their mentality was absolutely right. Off to the races from the word go, from the opening whistle to start this game, the kickoff. Watford were up and at it, dominating Chelsea, finding spaces, moving the ball quickly, up tempo, up and at it, confident, aggressive, sharp on the front foot. They never let Chelsea settle for much of the first half. A Chelsea side that was coming off a 1-1 draw against Manchester United, of course, the Chelsea side that are in first place in the Premier League, enjoying life from the top of the table. Watford, though, relentless and confident, kept Chelsea at bay with some incisive play and some alert defending as well. Watford, I think, played as good a game at the Vic as they have all season, including the game, of course, that they won just a couple of weeks ago there against Manchester United. But I really like the spirit of this Watford side with this performance tonight. They were fantastic in all areas of the pitch. There was a half-hour delay to the first half, though, after the really good, strong opening from Watford. A fan in the Graham Taylor stand had suffered a cardiac arrest and had to be treated and sent off to Watford General, which is literally next door to Vicarage Road, right next to the pitch, right next to the ballpark, next to the stadium. And I just hope that that fan is doing a whole lot better now and that that fan is well and resting well. So my thoughts are with that fan who suffered a cardiac arrest in the Graham Taylor stand during this match. The match had to be stopped for half an hour and then back on the pitch. Watford is like they never left when they came back on the pitch and they kept going at Chelsea. Unfortunately, though, just around the half hour mark or so, they were undone by Mason Mount, scoring on the odd counter attack well against the run of play. 1-0 Chelsea, really harsh for Watford, and certainly something they did not deserve in this match, certainly in that first half. But Watford would make Chelsea pay and make their dominance of that first half count, with Emmanuel Dennis scoring cool, calm finish, his sixth goal of the season for Watford in the Premier League. He's become the top man at Watford these days, and certainly a on his way if he continues to play like this to get into Watford folklore and might get there very, very quickly because he has been outstanding. And this is an Emmanuel Dennis who many of us as Watford fans thought would not even start this game, would not even be on the pitch. We had heard all week about injury woes for Watford, 10 players injured, and Dennis was one of them. But lo and behold, when that team sheet was released to the public, Dennis's name was on it, starting lineup. And wow, did he make a difference? He was obviously the man of the match for Watford, even in a losing cause, but certainly has encouraged Watford. This team looked like a really dangerous outfit with Dennis on the pitch. And Claudio Ranieri in this game utilized him on the right hand side where Saar would be. But what he did differently, he allowed versatility. And Dennis's game is a versatile one. He's someone that is always about on the pitch. His energy level is going to give any defense fits. He would sometimes drift in from the right. He'd sometimes stay on the right. He'd sometimes cross from the right. But most of the time, almost every time, he would come straight into the box on the right hand side. He wouldn't cross that ball often before he got into the 18. And because Dennis's speed and pace were always lethal, that was a very strong right side for Watford tonight. Ranieri utilized Dennis well, and he wasn't one dimensional at all. And I think that with Saar being out for a prolonged period of time, let's face it, Saar's probably going to be out at least 2 months on the conservative end of things. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's going on at Watford internally, but the fact that we are waiting now for another month before we get something new publicly from Watford on the status of Saar means he's going to be out at least 2 months. I mean, I think we can probably safely say that that's the case. And so in his stead, Ranieri is going to have to try different things, and he tried with Dennis tonight on the right side, and it worked. I mean, previously Dennis had been on the left. Sometimes he'd roam in and be in the middle. Sometimes he'd start in the middle. Sometimes he'd drift about, and he did drift about a bit in this game, but he stayed mainly on the right and was able to cut inside, create spaces. And if there was an emphasis tonight on using that right channel, and where Femenia would normally push the ball up appreciably, you got Dennis doing it, and Dennis's pace unsettled Chelsea. He got in amongst them. He threw the defense off. He made the defense nervous. He made the goalkeeper nervous. And this is a world-class goalkeeper we're talking about in Benjamin Mendy. Made him very nervous. I'm sorry, Mendy. I don't know what his first name is. It's not Benjamin. That's the man at Manchester City, I think. But Mendy, Edouard Mendy, I think is his name, was very good tonight, but he was really busy. Watford kept him busy, and Dennis kept him busy. And Dennis got the goal to deservedly equalize. It was no less than we deserved. And Watford went into the break at 1-1. Second half, Watford continued to press their advantage, although Chelsea began to grow into the game, neutralize some of what Watford were doing, but there was so many times where we still were able to get at Chelsea, get in behind Chelsea, and really unsettle their back line. And really loved the way that this team never gave up on the ball. Even when they lost the ball, they came back and tried so hard to win it back. They clogged up a lot of the spaces that Chelsea wanted to occupy. They frustrated Chelsea, which is something I talked about in the midweek focus. That one of the things that Watford would have to do is frustrate Chelsea and try to narrow the pitch. And they did that, actually, exactly both of those things. It was just unfortunate that the winning goal came that way. It just so happened that Watford got caught in both of those cases, and they got caught on the counter, if I remember correctly, on both goals. And Ziyech, out of nothing, really, as the ball was square to him, was right in front of goal and just smashed the ball into the roof of the net. And you know, what can you say? There's some Watford fans who believe that Daniel Backman should have done better with that shot. And if you look at the replays, you will see that I think he could have got a hand to it, but it's very, very difficult in that situation. I mean, I think Ziyech is what, 7 or 8, 9 yards out. I don't remember just how far out he is, probably maybe 14 or 15 yards out, maybe even less than that. I don't exactly know. It's very difficult to deal with a ball like that coming close in. But again, there are Watford fans who believe that Ben Foster would have probably got to that ball. But be that as it may, I don't really have any fault tonight with Daniel Backman. He was not as busy as Mendy was. His opposite number was so busy tonight. And Watford missed a few chances, particularly in the first half. If you go back to that first half, in the injury time, extra time of that first half, when the man of the moment and the man of the match, despite the defeat, Emmanuel Dennis slid a pass through to Musa Sissoko, and Sissoko scuffed his shot, and the ball went straight into the grateful arms of Mendy. And I think that that was a key moment in that first half. Had Sissoko been able to get on and proper hold of that ball, I think it would have been Watford up 2-1 in the break, and then we would have been talking a very different game indeed. Be that as it may, we came into the half deservedly with a goal, and we had a 1-1 at that point. And then Watford, look, we battled gamefully until that 72nd minute goal by Ziyech, and we kept going, by the way. We did not let our heads drop. We continued to press the advantage of, well, not the advantage at that point, but we pressed our belief, our mentality, our confidence. Watford's confidence never sagged in this game, not once. And with a 2-1 deficit, they continued to push, and they showed Chelsea no respect tonight. That's another thing that I don't think enough people have talked about, is that Watford showed Chelsea no respect tonight, none whatsoever. And even when Watford were trailing in that game, on both occasions where they were trailing, Watford continued to press. And that's what the Ranieri way is to keep going, never say die, never give up, never give in. And they almost paid off for them at the very end. Kuchka hit a shot from about 20 yards or so out that stung the palms of Mendy. Mendy had to make a save. And that's the thing that I've been preaching a lot here, is to keep these goalkeepers at the opposition end busy. We've got to keep the opposing goalkeeper busy, and we did that. We did that on a number of occasions in the Leicester game, and we did that obviously in the game against Manchester United, against De Gea. We kept them busy. That's what we need to do more of. We need to keep keeping these opposing keepers busy because you never know. They make a shot, they spill the ball, they parry the ball, and it comes to a grateful Watford attacker who puts it into the back of the net. And I think that despite the loss tonight, Watford were excellent on the field in all areas. Each third of the pitch, the balance was absolutely right. And although it wasn't quite right against Leicester in terms of the defense, tonight we saw a Watford side that was committed in every third of the pitch, in each level of the pitch, and each phase of play to do better, to defend better, to keep the ball better in midfield. And Sissoko was absolutely outstanding yet again. The captain of the side, really leading by example tonight, as he always does, as he ever has ever since he stepped foot into Vicarage Road as a Watford player, has led by example and has been a solid Watford player. He's been superb for this Watford side. Very important. You know, he's as important as Etienne Capoue was when Capoue stepped in and did the kind of yeoman's work he did for many seasons for us. And I think that Sissoko already, he's only been here, what, 2.5 months, 3 months, just about 3 months now. Um, yeah, just 3 months now he's been here. He played in the Tottenham game. That was his debut at the end of August. It's now the beginning of December. So he's been here just a little over 3 months. And you can see he calms things down. He moves the ball. He keeps the ball moving. And he stretches the pitch, gives us spaces, organizes the back, marshals and patrols the area in behind. He can go forward as he did tonight. He's capable of a goal or two, and he can hold up the play as well. I mean, Sissoko's the complete package. Very pleased with his performance. Very pleased with all of the team tonight. João Pedro, this young man is coming of age right before our eyes. He is a fantastic player, and this is a man who just lost his stepfather just a few weeks ago. Celebrated a goal in his honor of his late stepfather, with an emotional victory, an emotional goal against Manchester United. And now to see him start the game the way he did and to play the way he did, he was fantastic tonight. Really big hats off to João Pedro as well. Josh King doing his usual effervescent, tireless running, looking for the open man. Another good game for Josh King. I think the defense tonight, fantastically acquitting themselves. Cathcart was very good. Troost-Ekong was very good too. You know, they both were very solid tonight. Troost-Ekong defended very well in a lot of areas. You know, I've had my criticisms of Troost-Ekong and I've had my criticisms of Craig Cathcart, but both of them tonight were outstanding. Particularly Cathcart, I think, has really improved his game over the last 3 or 4 games, and I'm just so pleased with the way he stepped up. And I think the key reason why, or one of the key reasons why, is Nkulu. I think Nkulu's presence has, I think, forced, really, quite frankly, Craig Cathcart to raise his level and raise his game some, because I think Nkulu came in, a man who is not even close to 100% fit. Now he's injured, of course, will be out for a little bit, but Nkulu came in, a man not 100% fit, and his defensive work was stellar. It was superb, in that center back pairing. I think that Nkulu's had an influence on Cathcart. And it's not to take anything away from Cathcart because he was outstanding tonight, but I think Nkulu, I think, is certainly, and Nkulu's a veteran. I mean, he's just a bit older than Cathcart is, and also an international player too. I think from Cameroon is Nkulu, and he looked so much the part. Looked like he'd been playing at Watford in that centre back position for at least a few years, and he's only been here for a month or two, and I think he's had a big influence on the way Cathcart's game has actually improved. And I'm just pleased with everybody in that defense. Danny Rose as well tonight was very good, coming in for an injured Adam Messina, who was subbed off. Danny Rose got the balance right. He was in there. Look, he hasn't kicked the ball now in about a month for Watford, and I'm just so pleased with him because I've had my criticisms of Danny Rose as well. He had been injured, he'd been benched and injured, and now he's back, and he performed very well tonight. I think the whole team, from top to bottom, very good. Um, I'm not going to find fault with Backman too much. I think he did as well as he could. He tried to distribute the ball better. He's not as good a distributor of the ball as Ben Foster is, but look, tonight I'm very pleased with this performance. Yes, Chelsea got the win, And of course, I would have loved to have had a point or 3 points out of this game. And Watford, had we taken that chance before halftime with Sissoko, who really had a really good shot, but he had a really good chance to score. But of course, as things happen, sometimes what happens is that the ball doesn't break the right way, your footing isn't right, and he scuffed the shot. It happens in football, and he had a golden opportunity to put us up. But look, that's not the reason why Watford lost this game. Watford were very good throughout this game, and even when they were on the back foot, they defended as a team very well. Great recoveries, great defensive transition for Watford. There was a counter attack by Chelsea, and Watford got their defenders back very quickly. And they turned a one-on-one situation into a one-on-six within a matter of about 15 seconds. It was really great to see the effort put in by the whole team to go back and defend and track back and stop the counter that Chelsea were delivering. And they stayed on their feet. They didn't fall to ground. They didn't try to trip Chelsea in the penalty area. It was a really good performance, and this is the first game now in the last four where there was not a penalty awarded. And I find that it's just remarkable. The Arsenal game there was a penalty that was saved. The Manchester United game there was a penalty that was saved, and then the game against Leicester just a few days ago there was a penalty. We scored that one, and tonight there was no penalties awarded. But the defending was stellar. I think, as I said earlier, the balance was right. It was done perfect. I was really pleased with how Ranieri has now really put in this team a sense of the defensive responsibility and the balance on each third of the pitch. Getting all of those phases correct and balanced correctly was exactly what Ranieri had wanted, and the team is doing that now. Leicester not quite. The defense was the problem there. The United game, the balance was about right everywhere. But tonight, in defeat, we played as well as any team does when they win a game. And if Watford continue this kind of level of performance, there's no reason why Watford won't be mid-table. Now, since June, I have predicted that Watford would be mid-table, would finish 11th. Now, of course, right now they are far away from 11th place. But let's look at this now. After 14 matches, we are above the drop zone, 17th place, 3 points clear, a better goal difference, a far better goal difference than the Norwich City, who are in 18th. And we've got a game against City this weekend, and that's a game that you can chalk off. That I'm not expecting 3 points from, but I am expecting a performance like this, and that's not something you would have said a few weeks ago if you were under a different head coach going into City, into the game against City at the Vic on Saturday. You wouldn't have said that back at the beginning of the season, or back in October, early October, or I should say back in late September, perhaps. You wouldn't have said that I'm looking for a performance like what we got tonight, because Chelsea really didn't know what hit them tonight. We absolutely dominated that game, and we are unlucky to come away with 3 points. And when you are, as a Watford fan, saying that, that means your team put in a shift. That means your team were very good on the pitch. That means your team were impressive, and they were in all respects tonight. The front line, the midfield, and the defense. Really enjoyed watching them play, and the mentality to stay focused after that half-hour suspension, where the fan, as I say, and I wish that fan all the very best. Hope that fan is recovering and well at Watford General. And I just want to say, the concentration level for those lads after that event and that half hour off to come right back on that pitch and pick up where they left off. Wow, that would not have happened under the previous manager. It just wouldn't have. The mentality is there. What Ranieri has done has instilled a mentality into this team, and it's slowly but surely coming. And I think there's more to come from this Watford side. And once the City game is out of the way on Saturday, I see no reason why we can't start to push and kick on and start to move away from that dreaded relegation zone area. After the Man City game, we're at Brentford, and then we've got the games coming up against Burnley as well, and we've got, I think, the likes of Wolves. We owe them one, right, after what we lost to them earlier this season. And we've got West Ham coming as well at the Vic. And I think that's the last game of the 2021 portion, but I may have missed a game or two in there. But there are games where there's daylight. We've got Crystal Palace as well at home. So, there's daylight here. And I take great pride in this performance. I'm so proud of the lads tonight because even though we got the defeat, our ninth of the season and no clean sheet, of course, again, I think we're going to get a clean sheet these next 3 or 4 games. It may not come on Saturday against City, but I think we get a clean sheet here in the next 3 or 4 games. It's coming. Watford, I think, held out for the first 27 minutes or so before conceding 26, 27 minutes. Our defensive work is a lot better, despite the Leicester game where we were at sixes and sevens at times. The defensive focus was very good tonight. Very pleased with how the lads defended all the way around. Emmanuel Dennis, absolute joy to watch him. He is the spark and the lifeblood of this team. And it's very clear to me that you've got to start building around him for the future. He's only 24, 25 years old. It's very clear that, going forward, you're going to have to build pieces around him and fortify this Watford team in January with a few more pieces. I know Dennis won't be available because he's going to be at the Africa Cup of Nations, which I think is a month-long tournament. So, what Watford are going to have to do in the interim is they're going to have to get players who are going to be able to slide into the roles of the departed players and be up for it and be up for the challenge. We need defenders. I think first and foremost, though, if we're going to start, before we start talking about clean sheets, we're going to need additional defenders. We saw tonight Adam Messina's injury, and apparently he was carrying an injury with him. Compounded tonight, he had to be taken out of the game after 12 minutes or whatever it was. And he had to go just before we had the 30-minute suspension of the match. Messina had to be taken off. So, that's something you don't want to see. Messina have been pretty decent in these last few games. We need defenders and we need cover. We need cover in January. So, the last thing I want to say, though, with all of that, is that the most important thing that I pick out of this game is the consistency. Watford are now, in these last 3 games, building a consistent base, a consistency in performance, the mentality, the tempo, the attitude about the team. They're playing with a lot more confidence. They're moving the ball faster. They're trapping and pressing. They're closing down spaces. They're not letting attacking teams get a moment's peace. And that's the difference between Ranieri and the previous head coach, is that this head coach has preached trapping the ball, pressing the spaces, pressing the ball retention, and also a never say die ethic and a work ethic that says we're going to go with you to the end. We are going to duel with you on the end of this cliff, on the edge of this cliff. We're going to keep fighting. And that is what Ranieri's Watford is about. And we're beginning to see now in match 14 an identity to this club, an identity to this team, rather, that I thought would happen in the first 8 or 9 games or 10 games. But of course, the manager got sacked. So, of course, that goes out the window. And it just took a few more games. But slowly but surely, we're beginning to see the Watford mentality and the identity of this team, a team that builds on forward-thinking attack, a team that builds on defensive teamwork, a team that very much has a very lethal front line, and a team that never says quit. It's a tenacious team, this one, and you're going to have to play very well against us. And it's very clear now, home or away, we're beginning to get that balance right with our home performances and the away performances. We started the season a lot better away from home than at home, despite the Aston Villa win that we had. We were playing for a long time much better on the road and not as good as home at home. But now what you're beginning to see is a balance in those 2 variables. And at home, we're playing a whole lot better. The consistency is there, which is what we need. And once we build consistency and we build the defensive base that we're continuing to grow, then we can start talking about a possibility of a clean sheet in the next few games. As I say, Saturday, very unlikely, but you never know in this league. But I think after the City game, when you've got the likes of a Burnley, when you've got the likes of a Brentford, when you've got the likes of even a team like Wolves or West Ham, we can build and play and scrap and come at these games with the same mission and purpose. And there's no reason why we can't take something out those games. No reason at all. But tonight, immensely pleased and immensely proud of this Watford side. Despite the defeat, I think the lads will be very encouraged. I think they'll be very confident. Of course, not happy with the result, but very confident about the way they handled their business tonight. And I think João Pedro, to me, I was very pleased with him because after all he's gone through, he has really grown up, and not just grown up. You can see how wise he is on the field, the decisions he's making. He's really growing right before our eyes. He grew up a lot in the championship last season. I think that a lot of fellow Watford fans would agree with that. But he's really stepped up in the big time now, and he's grown from being a bit player to a real starter. And I think it's going to be hard to dislodge him from this side. And the way he played tonight was outstanding. And Emmanuel Dennis, well, he's your new man for the job at Watford. He's got 6 goals, as I said earlier, 6 goals on the season in the Premier League. Now, look, you've got Josh King, who's got 4 or 5 goals. Sar's injured. Okay, he's got 5. But you've got goals in this side. And you've got Kuchka, who's not afraid to take a shot and a good shot. And you've got players who can score. Kuchka can score. Kuko can score. Cucho Hernandez, can score. You've got, as I said before, the likes of a Josh King who can score. I mean, you've got goal scorers in this side. So I'm not worried about the goals. I just hope that we can now build off of this Chelsea game, and then start to put clean sheets together. But again, this is a very important performance tonight, despite the result, because now we can go into the Manchester City game with some belief, with even more confidence that we can actually rattle and disturb them a bit. There's no reason why they can't be beat. City's lost a game or two this season. There's no reason why we can't beat City if we really were at it. Why not? I mean, I know people think that that's crazy, and I honestly don't expect that we're going to beat City, but with a performance like that tonight against Chelsea, why not? Why can't we give City a go? There's no reason why we can't. There's no reason why, if we play like we did against against Chelsea, and if we play the way we did against Manchester United, why not? Why not? I mean, we could be looking at a stunning win on Saturday, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think most Watford fans would say that that's not going to happen, but you never know. You never know in this Premier League. You never ever know, and that's the beauty of the beautiful game. So, unfortunately for us, we got our 9th defeat of this Premier League season, but there's so much positives to take out of a defeat, and you learn more about your team in a loss than in a win. And what I learned tonight is that Watford are continuing to improve their play. They have built a base of consistency now over these past 3 games, and they are fearless and very confident indeed about where they can go. And they can give anybody a go at the Vic anytime, anywhere. And I really think that Watford now, if they continue this kind of play, will be comfortably mid-table, as I predicted that they would be a few months ago. But I do think that Watford are going to get there. And for now, we have to still keep building and keep moving in this direction, because it's a very positive and encouraging one.